Live, local, and talking about the teams that matter to you. This is Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Brought to you by McMahon's Best One Tire and Auto Care.
Good morning and welcome to Talkin Sports, powered by McMahon's Best One. Along with Adam Lundy, pinch hitting today for D.C. Hendricks. I'm Jim Shovlin as Adam takes a mythical swing.
Hey, good morning, Jim. Happy to be here with you.
Well, it's great to have you, Adam. And once again, Adam Lundy, pinch hitter extraordinaire. You text the guy and say, hey, is there any chance you could? Oh, sure thing.
Hey, it's like baseball. You have to be ready when you get your moment to be called up.
Yeah, when you get called the bullpen, man, I'll tell you. So thank you.
You're welcome. What's a baseball team without a bullpen?
Well, I tell you, not much.
Not much
That's
at
for
all.
Sure. Welcome into Talkin Sports, as always, powered by McMahon's Best One. We'll be talking local sports of all sorts until the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. This is a show that will be previewing high school football. And, of course, high school football from the SAC and ACAC conferences. And we're going to do that with Justin Kenny at the bottom of the hour. Justin Kenny from OPS and OutsideTheHuddle.net. He'll join us, just like he did a couple weeks ago, and we previewed the NE8 conference. So a lot going on. If you were at a high school football scrimmage last night and would like to share perhaps what you saw, there were some interesting battles last night. Adams Central, I didn't realize they'd never played in Fort Wayne before.
That is interesting.
They got to scrimmage Bishop Dwenger, and so I mean they didn't just take just anybody. They take a historic program and played them. Sounds like it was a pretty competitive battle, but Adams Central is always Adams Central as well with Coach Moser. So, my goodness, a couple of pretty good teams from what I understand. We'll talk to Justin about that a little bit later on and find out both of these teams. I also want to ask him about some of the transfers that have occurred over the offseason and what that will do to their former team, future team, current team. We'll see. But there's a lot of different storylines to talk about, especially in the SAC.
Yeah, no question.
We have some outstanding individual talent. We've got a receiver from Northrop that's already, committed to Ohio State. He's going to be receiving footballs from Mr. Callison this season, who had kind of an injury-riddled junior year, but we're told is probably one of the more outstanding talents in the area. So we'll see how that all shapes up. The Journal-Gazette this morning had their Northeast Indiana all-area team listed this morning. And Mr. Axe from Bluffton is the quarterback on offense, Axton Best. From Bluffton. He's just a junior, completed 71.4% of his passes as a sophomore. And I know he was also a catcher on the baseball team. Might have been one of those guys that toggle between JV and varsity. But Axton Best. And interesting. And we're going to talk to Justin. Justin's got the lowdown on just about every team you can imagine within earshot. So we'll talk to Justin a little bit later on. 6,000 plus at Parvkiew Field last night. Saw the TinCaps fall to the West Michigan Whitecaps by a score of 5-1. TinCaps could only muster just a couple of hits on the evening, but John O'Hurley.
Yeah.
Elaine's boss, Elaine Nardo, right? Yeah, on Seinfeld, was in attendance and had a little meet and greet. And was outstanding with the fans and spoke to them and even went up and spoke to Brett Rump.
That's always
in the TV booth.
That's quite the summit to climb up there, and talk to the one and only Brett Rump. So I'm sure John was very glad to check that off of his bucket list.
Well, it's. I wonder if Brett gave him a Sports Rush T-shirt.
I don't know. He might have had to throw those in the back storage
or maybe he's
somewhere.
Now, yeah. So we'll see. But anyway,
successful promotion.
Once again, and we know, and there have been texts that have come in regarding, well, gee, the Padres just decimated the TinCaps roster again. Here we go, and that happens.
It is something
that happens
yeah.
Because you're more. You can't be more concerned about your high A team than you are your major league team.
No.
So, with that said, when you start building a solid program as far as your minor league system is concerned, that's going to happen. Now, from the minor league baseball perspective, you also need to go beyond just fair territory on the baseball diamond. You have to be able to run promotions. You have to be able to attract fans in that regard as well, because these players aren't household names yet. They may be at one day, but not yet. And so you have to have things. You have to have a facility, a location, where people just clamoring to get out to Memorial Stadium to see the Wizards. At first, it was cool because we hadn't had baseball in 50 years or so. But now Parvkiew Field is, a jewel of minor league baseball, and something that we have sitting right in downtown Fort Wayne that at first had a lot of naysayers. But I think I haven't found a naysayer in about 16, 17 years. So that's what you have to do.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, it's fond memories at Memorial Stadium right near the Coliseum, and it was a perfectly acceptable facility. But just the fact that they were able to move into downtown and not only have the ballpark at Parvkiew Field, but just to have it become part of the community and also become a catalyst for expanding and improving the community downtown. I think it's more than a ballpark, which is what it was in the parking lot at the Coliseum.
Exactly. Yeah, nothing wrong. Memorial Stadium got us minor league baseball.
Yes.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this group was told with Mike Titoyan and et cetera, if you can build a ballpark and have it done by, such and such a date, you can have the Kenosha franchise, the Kenosha Twins. And so they did. They got it there. They got it up and running. It was within specs. They had some pretty grandiose ideas as far as how it was going to look, but then had to cut back due to some budget constraints and such. And I remember the canvas awning that was supposed to be over the seating area. They looked at it and they thought, well, that'll be great, but what are we going to do if it rains? Well, if it rains, all that water was going to run off onto the first 5 or 6 rows of seats.
Would have had a big puddle down there right around the bottom of the stadium. Yeah, right at the bottom of the bowl.
Right around the box seats.
Yeah,
where the heavy money is paid there for the season tickets. So, let's douse them with water. So they took that out as well. But hey, I did PA for the Wizards for the last 4 years they were there.
Yeah,
and enjoyed the time there, and the sight lines were great. Once again, not a bad seat, but they just took everything and went to the nth degree with it with Parvkiew Field, made the 360 concourse, and it has become a social gathering place, too.
I mean, they say at every broadcast, it's more than just baseball. It does offer a lot for the community.
Oh, it is, and yeah. I've been to so many different events. I performed a wedding at home plate at Parvkiew Field.
Yeah, weddings very popular there.
I've been to wedding receptions up on the suite level. I have been out to networking events in the Lincoln Event Center.
And it's so nice because, it just connects to hotels, downtown restaurants. Sure. It's all there. So like I said, it's just become such a part of the downtown scene. It's great.
Well, and I don't know who would argue with me, but, yeah, the Parvkiew Field construction was the catalyst for everything else that is gone that direction in downtown Fort Wayne. But now there has to be other people that'll business people that'll have to step up, other corporations step up and keep this running so that we can fill these businesses back up that are in downtown Fort Wayne. But anyway, I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah, I'll get down
Adam
too.
stepped down off of his too.
Yeah.
So, Major League Baseball last night, tracking the couple of local players in Major League Baseball. Zach McKinstry was 1 for 4 with an RBI last night while playing both shortstop and second base as his and Adam Lundy's Detroit Tigers shut out Minnesota 5-0.
Let's go.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, and Zach's hitting .260 on the season for the Tigers, 10 home runs, 40 RBI, 17 stolen bases, and once again, has played every position this season. He hasn't pitched, he hasn't caught, he hasn't played center. He's played all the other positions, including he's DH'd as well. But once again,
just a great utility guy all around.
Pride of Northside High School.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. He made a brief appearance on my baseball fantasy team. So
there you go.
I appreciate you, Zach.
Well, and he was an all-star.
Yeah.
He was an all-star and well earned. And so, my goodness, we just wish him the best. And Kevin Kiermaier was an everyday center fielder for the Tampa Bay Rays and then Toronto Blue Jays. Well, part-time player with the Blue Jays and Dodgers. But I think Zach might end up with more at-bats this season than anyone who's come from Fort Wayne and played. Dave Doster played with the Philadelphia Phillies for a couple of seasons and had almost 300 at-bats. So, yeah, Zach McKinstry is doing the 260 proud. Also, Andrew Salfrank, Heritage High School grad, didn't appear last night in the Arizona Diamondbacks 5-4 loss of the Colorado Rockies. Now, he has appeared in 13 games. He's got a record of 0-1, 14 innings pitched with an ERA of 0.64. A lot of little leaguers would like that even.
Yeah.
0.64, a whip of 1.06, which is excellent. 9 strikeouts. Generated his first save of the season this past week against the Texas Rangers. So congratulations to Andrew Salfrank of the Arizona Diamondbacks. But he is a very important cog in the Diamondbacks pitching rotation. On this date in Fort Wayne sports history, the book by Blake Sebring, August 16th, in 1926, the New York Giants defeated the Lincoln Lifers by a score of 5-3. And it says Fort Wayne has hosted about 20 exhibition games involving major league teams over the years. During the 1920s, teams would often stop by on their way to a western road trip, to Chicago.
So far west.
That was the 20s. John McGraw's New York Giants stopped by in 1926 and beat the semi-pro Lincoln Lifers 5-3 before a big crowd at League Park. So there you go. And I can remember the Padres coming in, the Twins coming in.
TinCaps, I have your next promotion next year. You're going to be the Lincoln Lifers.
There we go. Yeah, why not? Why not? Boy, if we could only get a hold of Mike Nutter. Anyway,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Also in 1991, Time Corners is eliminated from the Senior League World Series, and I do remember that. I think there was a pitcher by the name of Marinowski. Was quite the stellar athlete for that team as well, and hopefully a lot of memories were generated from that. So congratulations to those that played on that Time Corners Senior League team that made it to the World Series. So that is what's going on thus far in Major League Baseball and Fort Wayne sports history. And, of course, you can get that book, Fort Wayne Sports History by Blake Sebring, at pretty much any bookstore or on Amazon.com. Before we, I watched some of the Cub game yesterday.
Yeah.
With my former father-in-law, who's 97 years old, having some health issues. And so I stopped over and, spent, 45 minutes to an hour with him talking sports, talking baseball, especially baseball, talking grandsons, etc. But I had a great time. And he has been a Cub fan, since before I was ever born. And the names he was able to rattle, 97 years old, he was 97 in April, but he's still rattling off names of players that, Bobby Dernier and Ryan Sandberg from the 83-84 Cubs and going to Wrigley Field to see the Cubs play. So it was just pretty special for me to get to chat with him because there's no bigger Cub fan around right now than Don Luther. And, what a guy. And I had such a great time, just seeing him, being bedside with him and watching some Cub baseball. He's not a big fan of the light blue, the powder blue Cub jersey.
Interesting.
But would rather have the pinstripes, the old school pinstripes.
Mm-hmm.
But, hey, that's just one of those things.
It's interesting what the brain, kind of just tucks away in those corners and folds, and just all of a sudden they can just randomly come out and just, I remember that. And then it's all of a sudden it comes back in vivid detail. It's super interesting.
And that was just, to me, once again, so special, just being able to talk about sports.
Yeah.
And he used to, my goodness, he was a big Bishop Dwenger fan, went to all the basketball games, all the football games. Former athletic director Andy Johns had even stopped over a couple, 3 weeks ago to see him, and just kept connections with Bishop Dwenger. But he went to state championship games, and he reminded me of all that. So, but just that's who he, what he enjoys. So
Unfortunately, yesterday's Cubs game was a loss.
Correct. 3-2 to the Pirates, yeah.
And former Fort Wayne TinCap did the damage. It was Jack Sawinski.
Yeah,
with the tie-breaking homer. He was previously in the Padres organization, was a Fort Wayne TinCap, now in the Pirates organization, major leagues, and doing damage.
How about that? Yeah. So, anyway, I just wanted to kind of pass that along from a personal level. We're going to go to break. Before we do, I want to tell you about my friends at Culligan. Do you have a water softener? You know how it works? Yeah, I've got a water softener. I don't really know much about how it works these days. So I call Culligan, 484-8668. That's 484-8668. I have them come out, take a look at it. Run a couple of water tests on your tap water. Make sure everything's running well, because I don't know what settings are proper and things like this on the water softener. I just basically we put salt in it every once in a while. We get it from Culligan, and they'll come out and they'll do it for you, which is perfect. Anyway, they have an inspection, $29.95. Come out, test your water, look at your connections, look at your settings. If it's great, they'll tell you. $29.95 is a lot of peace of mind for a little price for your waterborne appliances, your hot water heater, your washing machine, your dishwasher. Believe me, you don't want to price those, or if you have recently, prices have gone up exponentially on those. So give Culligan a call today and protect your investment. 484-8668. Give your people Culligan Water. We'll be right back with Mike Nutter. You're listening to Talkin Sports, powered by McMahon's Best One. On 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
Now back to Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back to Talkin Sports, powered by McMahon's Best One. Over there, running the controls, playing the music, Adam Lundy this morning, filling in for DC Hendricks. I'm Jim Shovlin. Thanks for tuning in as we're talking local sports of all sorts until the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. If you'd like to be part of the show, you can do so via the text line at 260-447-8500. That's 260-447-8500. Especially if you've got a question regarding, TinCaps baseball maybe, or baseball in general. Because on the Talkin Sports phone line, powered by Fire Police City County Federal Credit Union, is Fort Wayne TinCaps president Mike Nutter. Mike, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jim. Thanks for giving me a break from loading a 20-foot box truck to move a kid back to school tomorrow.
Well, no, we don't want to take you away from family fun.
No, please do. No, please do. It's good.
Well, Mike, the TinCaps took one on the chin last night, 5-1 to the West Michigan Whitecaps. 6,100 plus fans were in attendance, but John O'Hurley, Elaine's boss from Seinfeld, was in attendance, and it sounds like he made a lot of friends in Fort Wayne, Indiana last night.
He sure did. He was so good. He's been in a lot of animated stuff, but I think he's most well-known in the pop culture for Jay Peterman, Elaine's boss. And it was also really cool just chatting with him briefly, but listening to him do interviews and stuff. He is a huge baseball guy. He is a Red Sox fan. He told us he got to watch Ted Williams' last 2 years of playing.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that stopped me and wait a minute, no, that would line up. And so huge fan, told us he was just out at Petco 2 weeks ago to see the Red Sox play out there in interleague play because they don't get to San Diego much. He talked about being at a lot of games over the years at Dodger Stadium and some big games. And so, we've done it over the years with Parks and Rec and The Office and all kinds of things. And it's what minor league baseball does, appeal to the pop culture stuff. He did some Q&A, did all kinds of photos and autographs. He was in character. He was absolutely a pro to work with. Lots of fun.
And it seems as if the TinCaps always, and I'm going to use a baseball analogy here, Mike, hit a home run when it comes to appearances and promotions. And once again, maybe a little behind the scenes, how does this come about? I know that oftentimes the representatives for some of these people of interest will approach and say, hey, this person's available this time and this, for this prize,
yeah,
etc. But, how can you tell? And it seems like you're batting 1,000 when it comes to what Fort Wayne is going to respond to.
Well, you're too kind on that one. We're definitely not batting 1,000. But Morgan Olson has developed some great relationships with agents for folks like us. And what do I mean by that? Folks like them. What do I mean by that? Like the shows we just named, the Parks and Rec, The Office, Seinfeld. A lot of those people, had nice runs on those shows, but I'm not talking about the guy last night, but they might not have made a lot of money, or, the guy that played the Soup Nazi, he does he does a lot of Seinfeld nights and a lot of that stuff. So it's a cool thing. And they'll say, hey, what are you thinking? And we've said, well, we've done a couple Office nights. We tried the Parks and Rec. Seinfeld's a lot older than those couple shows, but we're thinking that. Cool, I can get you these people. This is a going rate. And this guy was great. He flew himself in. He said, I don't need some first-class flight. I like to get out and see the country. And so nice. Some really, really neat stuff. Earlier this year, Mick Foley. I'll just say it because we always talk about the behind-the-curtain stuff here. Mick Foley was probably twice the price of the other wrestlers that we were looking at. But we felt like with the fans, and you don't always know, right? But if we got the right one, wow, it can really happen. And so in Mick's case, we did a meet and greet for 100 people, and I want to say it was $50, give or take. Mm-hmm. With 100 people, VIP sold out in minutes because Mick Foley was such a draw for some folks. And so, somebody stopped me on the concourse that night. You guys made a ton of money on this. And they weren't even being negative or complaining. I said, well, just so you know, Mick's contract was $10,000 to come in for one night. Yeah. So you do the VIP, you get to recoup half of that in that case. And then the general public, we try and always do it where you can meet the people. We've got a guy just as big coming out tomorrow, and that's Elmo. And so tomorrow is Sesame Street Day, and Elmo will be out in the Lincoln Event Center. And people can meet him and get pictures and all that stuff totally for free once they get into the game. So we've really tried to do it this year. That Marla Hooch was in from League of Her Own. Maybe not as big of a name, but every person that she encountered that night, she gave them the whole show. And and entertained everybody's comments about League of Their Own and what that movie meant to them or their daughter or their wife or, just that kind of thing. And so, and then also minor league GMs like myself, I'll put out a text to, say, 10 buddies. Hey, anybody had John O'Hurley? Anybody had this person? Oh, yeah, great, like that kind of thing. So it's really neat. And so it's fun. With 66 home games, you can't just roll the ball out there every time. And
right.
It's just the regular stuff. And so 2 games left in this stretch, then 6 more. I know it's cliche, but it feels like I was just coming on with you in March talking about 26-year-old or 28-year-old Lucas Ray, the TinCaps manager, being announced. I guess he's 29. Yesterday was his birthday. And so here we are nearing the end of another season.
Well, and talk about tonight, Caps against Cancer. And if you, as a person, have not been affected by cancer, you are in the minority and you are very, very lucky. But those that have can tell you about the need for more research and to find a cure. Tell us about Caps Against Cancer.
We're going to try and raise a lot of money tonight and have all that money go to cancer research. And so we've been impacted at the ballpark. We lost our near and dear friend and 24-year office manager, Kathy Tinney. I think Ron and the kids are going to be out tonight. We've got the cards that you see on some of the major league stand up to cancer stuff where people can write out a name of a loved one. We're going to do something in game. I think it's at the end of the 2nd or 3rd inning. We're still going back and forth last night because we didn't want to do it too early and have some people miss it, but where everybody can stand up with their cards or if they've been impacted or family and friends. And it's a big deal. And there's a couple other TinCaps staff members tonight. They're going to come forward and let people know of their cancer journey this year that they've got going on. Both are in a good spot now. Both are back to work, but they're full-time people. One of the guys you and I have talked about on this show for 20 years. And so, it impacts so many of us. Like you said, incredible blessing if somebody's out there tonight or listening to us now and it hasn't impacted. And we're going to try and raise a bunch of funds for it tonight. And last year we were able to do a lot. Parvkiew Cancer Institute's been out and sold T-shirts, all for fundraising. Nobody's trying to make a buck tonight, but really make some money for this just dreadful disease that has cost so many of us friends and family and loved ones. And so tonight we celebrate the ones that are still with us. We honor the ones that have passed, and we try and continue to make strides for more of a cure.
Well said, Mike. Now, okay, then tomorrow, the final game of the homestand. It's also an autograph day, but there's also some unique traffic information, isn't there not?
There is, definitely. And I think we'll be good because we've had a lot of home games with this. They always ask us, well, what's the bus route? It's like, well, I can handle that one good. The visiting team stays downtown, so they should walk over. But, yeah, I mean, the great thing about Fort Wayne is there's always something going on. Mm-hmm. All the years we worked with you with Fort for Fitness, and different things. So tomorrow they've got one. It's on our website. There's information. I think people can still get in on Washington and Jefferson. Some of their back streets might be closed for a little bit. But, again, our people have gotten really good at being able to navigate. And everybody I talk to, hey, I've got this secret parking spot. Don't tell anybody, but I park here and save a couple bucks. And it's like, well, that's good. Just make sure on tomorrow that the side streets are open and things like that. So it'll be another action-packed day downtown. If weather holds tonight and tomorrow, and we expect it will, we should be over 7,000 tonight. I think we're going to be over 6,000 tomorrow. Like you said, last autograph day, Sesame Street Day tomorrow with Elmo. It looks like we're going to be outside of the playoffs looking in. But it's been another good year in attendance and promotions and community impact, and we're so grateful for our great fans.
And, Mike, before we let you go, got a text that came in on the text line that says, what's Elmo's going rate to make an appearance at Parvkiew Field?
Well, it's not as much as Mick Foley that I said, but this mascot union's better than the one I'm in, so I got to start renegotiating.
There we go, yeah.
Our fee, Jim, maybe for me to be on this show next year is going to double. And I always heard twice of zero is still zero.
That's right. Well, so, yeah. Yeah, I think you got the paperwork already.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, Mike, thank you for joining us. enjoy tonight and tomorrow, and then we've got one more homestand after that, and go TinCaps.
Thanks, my friend. Talk to you next week.
All right. That was Mike Nutter, president of Fort Wayne TinCaps, in our weekly TinCaps chat. Let's go ahead and take a break, Adam, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking with Mr. Justin Kenny of OPS and OutsideTheHuddle.net. We're going to preview some SAC football as well as ACAC. We're going to do that all when we return. You're listening to Talkin Sports, powered by McMahon's Best One on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
Now back to Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back to Talkin Sports, powered by McMahon's Best One. That's Adam Lundy. I'm Jim Shovlin. Adam's filling in for DC Hendricks this morning and doing a fine job. A little Lenny Kravitz going there on bringing us back. Thank you for that. Let's go to the Talkin Sports phone line, powered by Fire Police City County Federal Credit Union, because there's an old friend of mine that I kind of miss, man. It's Justin Kenny from OPS and OutsideTheHuddle.net. Justin, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Shovlin. How are you?
I am stellar this morning. Well, it's almost high school football season, and to some people it started. The bumps and bruises started last night already with a lot of the scrimmages, and it seems like there were a lot of interesting matchups in the scrimmages last night. And a couple of weeks ago, you and I talked about the NE8 conference and what that was going to perhaps unfold. As now, let's talk about ACAC and SAC. Tell me about the Allen County Athletic Conference. Will it be once again Adams Central, Bluffton, Heritage? Or will anybody else sneak into that upper echelon of schools?
You know, it's a great question because for the last 4 years, Adams Central has effectively owned this conference, and we've seen other teams rise to try to challenge them over those last 4 years. South Adams at a point, Heritage, of course, Bluffton, and nobody's been able to knock Adams Central off, riding a 29-game win streak in regular season and playoffs against ACAC opponents. And once again, we enter the season looking at Adams Central as that favorite in the ACAC, bringing enough back in terms of junior quarterback Jamison Roach and some really good linemen, Cam Fravel in particular. But you look at Bluffton in particular, you know, they also have a dynamic junior quarterback like Adams Central with Axton Best. They have a really good wide receiver in A.J. Strebler. Cooper Craig is a phenomenal running back. You look at maybe skill position players, and does Bluffton have the edge in the conference in that respect? You know, Heritage has to replace some guys, but they have some talent coming back and some talent in the underclasses as well. And so South Adams is always there. Titus Lehman, the quarterback, coming back, and he has some weaponry around him as well. So it seems like it's been a question now for 5 years, who can challenge Adams Central? And once again, we're in that same position this year. Last year it was Heritage that took on Adams Central and was defeated. Bluffton was there. South Adams regressed a little bit in the ACAC. So it's the usual suspects that are expected to challenge Adams Central. But until somebody beats them, Jim, we look at Adams Central as the class of this league until something changes.
And there we go. Yeah, they have just they reload each year. They have quite the program. Obviously, a stellar youth program as well that can teach these youngsters the fundamentals, and then they can go from there. But my goodness, Adams Central and Coach Moser just have been outstanding in just keeping a winning team on the field for so many years consecutively. And how about last night, their first ever game, if you will, on the gridiron in Fort Wayne, Indiana, when they scrimmaged against Bishop Dwenger at Shields Field.
Yeah, it was cool to see that last night because Adams Central, of course, in their ACAC bubble, technically it's Allen County Athletic Conference, but only 2 teams in the league that are in Allen County. But It was a good matchup for them to go against Bishop DeWanger and really challenge themselves in that arena, because Bishop DeWanger, of course, a 4A and a very, very dynamic offense is what we expect out of Bishop DeWanger this season. So Adams Central, struggled at times last night in that scrimmage against Bishop DeWanger, but the benefit for them is they don't play at Bishop DeWanger in the season, even in the playoffs. So it's good to kind of get out of your comfort zone a little bit and really take on a bigger team, a bigger school, and then see how that translates into the regular season. And it will start for Adams Central, next week in terms of the regular season when they take on Garrett, which was, last year an eye-opening game in week 1 in which Garrett won that game 20-7. And we didn't know, is Garrett that good? Is Adams Central down? Well, it just so happened to be the only game that Adams Central lost all season on the way to a 2A state championship. So we'll see what happens in the rematch, Garrett and Adams Central, but I don't think the Flying Jets are going anywhere.
Yeah, and you were talking about Bishop DeWanger and that Adams Central scrimmage, and let's segue over to SAC. And, let's talk about Bishop DeWanger, because several of their skill players are back and just a year older now. They struggled somewhat statistically at the quarterback position last year. But let's talk a little bit about Bishop DeWanger.
Well, it's been a very un-Bishop DeWanger stretch, particularly the last couple years, 6-6 seasons, each of the last 2 years, and some significant amount of lopsided losses over that stretch. Most recently, that 38-0 loss to East Noble in sectional play that ended last season. But it's been an off-season of change for Bishop DeWanger, while Jason Garrett, of course, is ensconced at head coach. Changes at the coordinator positions, change in scheme. I think returning a player like Henry at quarterback is going to be a big deal because of his experience. He's a guy that battled injuries last year and had surgery and kind of was really able to fix that. So Henry Jordan coming back as a very experienced quarterback will be good. And you have talent in the backfield, and you look at guys like Gus Tittman, and you look at Thomas Dannies and Beckham Russell in terms of wide receivers. And then defensively, Houston Ellinger is as good of a linebacker as you're going to find around this area. So there's positive signs for Bishop DeWanger, particularly in the offseason when we've seen them in scrimmages and 7-on-7s and all that. But we need to see it translate onto the field, right? And for Bishop DeWanger, it's really been a matter of physicality and being out-physicaled by teams, something that never happened at Bishop DeWanger for a long, long time.
When it came to size, DeWanger always had the size advantage in the trenches, and that hasn't been the case in recent past.
Exactly. You knew what you were, at the very least, you knew what you were going to get with Bishop DeWanger, is that you were going to be an absolute battle in the trenches on both sides of the football. And that just hasn't happened in recent years. And so while the skill positions are fine, if the lines aren't better for Bishop DeWanger, they're going to have a hard time climbing back up in the SAC and in Class 4A playoffs. And so we'll see it right away. They get Roncalli on the road next week. They have Carroll on the road and Homestead in back-to-back weeks 4 and 5. So I don't think we'll have to wait long to see where Bishop DeWanger is. But while the skill positions are laden with talent, my questions, as it has been in recent years, is what do the offensive and defensive lines bring to the table, and are they quote-unquote vintage lines for Bishop DeWanger?
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about transfers, add deletes of some of the SAC teams, because I know there have been some names that have switched rosters in the offseason.
Yeah, and we felt like with the new IHSAA rules, at least some people thought, okay, it's going to be open season, not necessarily what we've seen. I think for a team that maybe got dinged the most with transfers is one that some people like to throw out there as one that's benefiting from transfers, and that's Bishop Luers. Mm-hmm. You looked at D-Ho going over to Northrop, who is one of the best all-around players in the entire area. You lose Davion Surrey to Northrop as well, two real stalwarts of that defensive backfield in Bishop Luers. You lose, Jalen White, who goes over to Wayne, of course, with his father, Darion White, getting that job. And Darion was formerly a Bishop Luers assistant coach. And then so Jalen White's gone, one of the quarterbacks from last year. Devin Patterson was the other, and he's now at Southside. So you could look at Bishop Luers as maybe having the biggest impact negatively due to transfers on their roster. So I think Bishop Luers is really that team that you look at as maybe mostly biggest impact, at least in losing transfers. So Southside gets Devin Patterson at quarterback. All indications are he won't be the starter to start the season at Southside. And you have Wayne as well that benefited, of course, with Coach White's sons coming over, and that will be a benefit. The big question is Northrop now. So they have D. Hogue, they have Davion Surrey. They have similar conversations, Jim, as with Bishop DeWinger. Northrop has all the talent in the world, the skill positions, but if you can't block, if you can't give quarterback David Callison time, if you can't bottle up the run defensively with your guys up front, it doesn't matter who you have at the skill position spot. So that's going to be a big question for Northrop as they try to compete in that big division, that A division, is they have skill position dudes. Does it translate with the lines and being able to give those guys time to make plays?
Well, and of course, and if things are clicking, Callison, who came in and was, burst onto the scene with an outstanding arm, not the biggest guy in the world, but he's got an outstanding arm. And you've got Jaquaden Guilford, who's committed to Ohio State to throw balls to. That could be quite the connection this year if everybody stays healthy and all things are lined up. But yeah, they are in that big division, and that's you also have Carroll, Snyder, and Homestead. And what do you see from those teams?
Well, it's tough trying to figure out the hierarchy of that A division, which by and large really is the hierarchy of the SAC in that division, with Carroll and Snyder and Homestead, and you throw Bishop DeWinger into the conversation. Carroll could have a very, very dynamic offense even without Jimmy Sullivan, who moved on to Iowa and graduated last year. You look at Jaden Van Pelt, who really broke out last year. You look at the running back cadre of running backs. Tight end, you throw in Mason Bauman too on the other side. Harry Shealy, I think, could really be a breakout player this year. I think Carroll is still that team to beat in the SAC, as it has been the last couple years. But you look at Homestead, who you could argue has the most talented returning quarterback in the SAC with Michael White, and what they can do. That's another team that is a lot less physically imposing than it used to be up front, and I think that's a big question for Homestead is can they block, particularly offensively? And you look at Snyder, too, with, they have a new quarterback. They were hoping to have somebody emerge yesterday in that scrimmage, and talking to Coach Tippmann earlier in the preseason. Last night was kind of that final litmus test of who was going to be QB1, but you have a good running back 1-2 with Jordan Davis and Braylon Burton. Braylon Burton gets a significant amount of playing time last year as a freshman, and that just doesn't happen at Bishop Luers or at Snyder unless you are a very talented player. So
true.
It's tough to figure out just who is where, but I think Carroll is still that one until somebody knocks them off. I think Snyder is always Snyder. Yes, you may not be familiar with certain players, but Snyder is always Snyder. But Snyder has a big challenge to start the season. First 3 games for the Panthers, the big highly anticipated game with Warsaw next Friday, and then you go at East Noble, at Bishop Luers. So we'll figure out what Snyder is pretty darn quick. And then the question marks with Bishop DeWinger and Homestead and seeing where they're at. So a lot of more questions than answers, but we'll be able to dissect from these non-conference games these first couple weeks to see who is where and see how that impacts the SAC race.
And Justin, what can we expect from the Wayne Generals in the post-Sherwood Haydock era?
That's a great question because I think Darion White, long overdue for Coach White to get a shot at head coach in the SAC. I mean, this guy has been a long-time assistant at Bishop Luers and is really a great football mind and a really affable guy. And you look at what Wayne is trying to do. You lose Kamar Nelson, you lose Harold Mack. So that's two huge, impactful players on offense. And who replaces them? Well, you got Jace White, who's going to come in, and he'll be the starter at quarterback. You have Jaston White, who's his brother, that will also slide in at wide receiver and also be DB. But this is going to be reasonably young team, only 4 starters returning total. So I think the goal for Darion White this year is kind of lay that foundation and really try to build this team up, get a couple wins, and build some positivity. I think Javonte Eldridge, the defensive end, who will just be a sophomore, is going to be one of the breakout players in the SAC this season, got considerable playing time as a freshman. Cooper Richardson is a really good interior lineman on both sides of the ball. Tyree Eldridge, a junior wide receiver, could have a breakout year as well. So they're going to have athletes. Wayne always has athletes, but I think you're going to have a certain amount of a learning curve for Coach White and the Wayne Generals with this roster. And it is a difficult task to go through the SAC for Wayne, particularly when you start with DeWanger and Snyder every year in weeks 3 and 4, or at least this year. So if Wayne can kind of keep the momentum and keep the confidence through the season, there's some opportunities to get some wins, Southside, Concordia, maybe even in Northrop. But it's all about learning and I think building that foundation for the Generals this year.
And Justin, we're quickly running out of time, but I wanted to ask you too about the numbers at Southside and Concordia. Are those up this year?
I haven't heard much from Concordia. I've heard it's around 40, 9 through 12 for Concordia. I think the Southside numbers are up, and I think Coach Goodwell has done just a phenomenal job at Southside. He was entering now his 3rd season, and getting that win last year over Bishop Luers in week 8 was just an absolute huge thing for this program, and it absolutely has helped the numbers for Southside. So year 3, we'll see what Southside can do. They had a chance to get a couple wins that let them get away last year, mainly that week 1 win or week 1 overtime loss to Marion. They'll go to Marion next Friday to start the season. So a lot of positivity around Southside football right now, the most it's had in quite some time. And when you can get some big wins like they did last year with that victory over Bishop Luers, that definitely brings out the numbers and helps build a program. So we'll see what Southside can do in year 3 under Coach Goodwell.
And what about Coach Johnson and the Northside Legends? What kind of players they got coming back?
Well, yeah, you insert Jaden Rivers at quarterback, an experienced guy that transferred in from Warren Central. He's got all the tools to be a dynamic guy to get receivers and playmakers in space with the football. And so that's going to be the key for Northside. They have athletes all over. They always do. They have a good opportunity to ease into their schedule. Home games against Northridge and New Haven, they're going to be favorites there. They go to Northrop, you feel like they're going to be a favorite there. And then week 4 at home against Concordia, they'll be a favorite there. So could this be a 4-0 Northside team going to Luers Field in mid-September in week 5? They very well could if everything goes according to plan. So the Legends are primed to be a factor at the very least in that B division, but they have to really put everything together and perform to their abilities. And they have those athletes, that talent, but we'll see how it translates to the field. But at the very least, Northside really has a favorable schedule setting up. Last couple of years they started with DeWanger in the SAC, and that was always tough. They played a really good Lawrence North team the last 2 years in non-conference, and that was a tough game. So the schedule is very favorable for Northside to build some sizable amount of momentum in the first month of the season.
Well, Justin, thank you so much for taking some time with us this morning and talking high school football. And can we recap week 1 with you next Saturday?
Let's do it, guys. It should be fun next Friday night.
All right. Sounds good. Well, Justin, thank you, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, fellas. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. That was Justin Kenny from OPS and OutsideTheHuddle.net. And that guy's knows a lot of high school football. And knows a lot of coaches. A lot of coaches trust him. That's a good thing. Anyway, that's going to do it for Talkin Sports for Saturday, August 16th, 2025. Jimi Hendrix is going to get out the door with me there. Thanks so much to Mike Nutter, president of the Fort Wayne TinCaps, for joining us, and also Justin Kenny, of course. Thanks to Adam Lundy for pinch hitting extraordinarily, and we will see you next week. So until then, have a great week, everybody.